Hi, I'm Matt Mungia, the founder of the Insurance Squad, the academy for elite agents. Click on the subscribe button below, and if you feel our videos are good and helpful, click on the like button for us. In the meantime, check us out at theinsurancesquad.com.
Just going to do a quick video on what I like to call tips from the top. Things that I've learned through interviews and interactions with other top producers around the country that I know on a personal basis and have interviewed, like I said, over conference calls or while I'm on trips with them around the world. Little things. They're little things, but that's usually what separates the big boys from everyone else, are the little things. You add up all those little things equals one great lump sum, and can take your numbers to the next level. You add all that stuff up. So some of the things will be advice basically on the psychology while you're with a client doing the actual presentation, and then I'll add a few things after that. But First thing, I always quote the female first when you're doing when you're getting ready after you've done the presentation. To quote the females first. That brings down the guard, because typically the females are going to be less expensive than the males. So the psychology behind that is, you bring that barrier down. They have a sigh of relief. Okay, well, that's so far so good. We can probably afford this. Okay, so always try and quote the female first if doing a presentation with a couple, because of that. You don't want to, you don't want them to have sticker shock by throwing out the male's quote first, right? Always try and present only 3 options. I know there's a lot of things out there. Some people do 4, some people present 5, some people present more than 5 options. I'm a firm believer in presenting 3 options. I've learned that one from a guy who was #1 in the nation in used car sales, and his big thing on that was anything more than 3 options will confuse a client. Give them too many options, and you might get the let me think about it because of that more often than not. All right, because you don't want to confuse them, giving too many options to choose and think of. Then they can't give you a good answer on the spot of which one they want to choose. So 3 quotes. Always show them the benefits of the plan, and you always want to show your quotes. Here's a big one. Always present your 3 quotes immediately after. Anybody that has my presentation knows the order I do it and the psychology of what I do. It's all in an order, certain order for a reason. All right. So you always want to show them that brochure that I've given my presentation, that shows them it's permanent protection, that the price will never increase, that their benefit, say it's $10,000, their 10K benefit will never change. It's day 1 immediate coverage, and it provides cash value due to emergencies or anything like that. As soon as you show them those options, then you quote them. As soon as you let them know those benefits, then you show them the 3 options. Okay, the psychology behind that is, all right, here's the benefits of the plan. Here's what, why it benefits you. Then pull out the options. All right. And when I do that, and I'll ask the client, so what do you think something like this would cost, Mrs. Jones, for $10,000? And 9 times out of 10, and people that can verify that are watching this video that have been ridden with me, I'll ask the client that, what do you think something like this will cost, Miss Jones? And I have my quotes. I already wrote them down. I already wrote these down, Mrs. Jones, but I want to hear your thoughts. 9 times out of 10, they overprice it, because just then you just told them all the benefits right before you show them the 3 quotes. So I cover them, literally cover them with my hand or a piece of paper or something. 9 times out of 10, if it's $50, they'll say $80, maybe $85. Now I have them. I already know that it's looking good. And then I'll show them, look, Miss Jones, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's only $50. Oh, okay. Then they start upgrading themselves. Well, how much would 12,000 be? Or show me what 15,000 would be. And I know that we're in the money at that point. Okay. Another thing, always let the spouse that you know that can I like to do PHIs. Those that know me know I like to know before I go, right? Because I don't want to be wasting time getting a rate up or decline, have to come back to see the client when I could be seeing a new client making new money. Instead, I'm having to go back and try and get the same person again when I could have done that the first time. So always do the PHI. So always let the spouse that you know that can handle the phone interview go first and put it on speakerphone, so that way the other person that you're a little iffy about can hear the process, or maybe there might be a little bit more nervous. You can sense that, so that way they can get a feel for it. They can hear the process and hear the questions and all that kind of stuff. Of course, I always ask the questions before I even start the telephone interview, so unless they're holding something back, I already know they should qualify. Okay. Another thing, always let the person that, preferably the female, go first if possible, typically they take the phone interviews a little bit easier, or again, maybe there's a language barrier. Always, if there's a language barrier on something, always, you don't think they can do the PHI, don't put that pressure on them. If you don't think they can get through it, just get out of there with a company that doesn't require a telephone interview. Now, outside of that, we're going to talk about a couple of tips outside of the presentation. And one thing I always preach is focusing on one thing until you feel like you've mastered it. Or have a good handle on it. I see a lot of guys out there flailing around. They're doing final expense, they're doing Medicare, they're doing this, that, and the other, and they're doing none of it well because they're jumping from one thing to the next. Focus on one thing. I mean, you can look at a good example of this is soccer, right? Soccer teams. You look at soccer teams from these little poor countries, Uruguay and Costa Rica, and I visited Costa Rica. I've been to Costa Rica. My uncle has a house there, and you see all these kids everywhere playing soccer because you don't have to have money to play soccer, right? It's just the ball. So you get all these little countries. Uruguay is a perfect example. Okay, that's all they play is soccer over there. You take a country that's literally the population is the size of Chicago, and yet they have a better team than America more often than not. Because all they do is play soccer, whereas you get all the population from America, and they're playing all different types of sports, and so the talent's spread out. The same is true if you focus. All these kids focus on one thing. All they play is soccer, so they get tremendously good at that thing. So yeah, once you've mastered final expense, then jump to something else. Okay. Also, knowing your meds when you're back to in the home. Knowing your meds is it's not mandatory, but it's impressive when these clients say, oh, well, I'm taking high blood pressure and cholesterol, and you can just spout out, oh, you're probably taking what, lisinopril, metoprolol, and they're taken back like, wow, you sound like a doctor. And but that impresses them, and it builds trust and confidence in them. A lot of these sales are because of trust and the confidence that's built during the presentation. Okay, so or they say cholesterol, and you can spout out, oh, you're probably taking Crestor or any statins, atorvastatin or what have you. So anyway, if you can try and really hone down on those skills, knowing those meds. Again, that's not something that's going to make or break you, but that will help build trust. Okay. Always show your license at some point during the interview. I always like to show my license within the first 3 to 5 minutes of meeting the person, during the presentation or right before the presentation, typically. Make the client feel good about getting approved. If you're in the home, you do the PHI, client gets approved on speakerphone, high five them. Whatever, pat them on the shoulder during the presentation. I'm finding an excuse to high five them or create human contact. The #1 used car sales guy in the nation said that, and that studies show 41%. He got a 41% higher increase in sales when there was some human contact involved, whether it be patting them on the shoulder, high-fiving them, something. You want to do that at least a couple times throughout the entire process. You know, and then solidify the sales. I like to hug females before I leave, you know, just that much more different than the next guy that's shaking hands. Speaking of something that's different, you know, how to separate yourself, I like to use magnets now. So I leave behind, only to clients, that I'll leave a magnet behind with my picture on it. And some of the things that I do, you know, final expense and a couple other things, you know, children policies, things of that nature, put on the refrigerator, because they'll throw my card away, but I know that they're going to save that magnet more than likely, and put their kids or grandchildren's artwork and schoolwork on the fridge, and for whatever reason. But I've ever since I started doing that about 6 to 8 months ago, I've noticed I've been getting a lot more callbacks and free referrals for that magnet. I know I've known good producers that leave mugs behind. They buy mugs, same thing, with their picture and things that they do on it, and that seems to help it. Again, it differentiates yourself from the next guy. So anyway, those are just a few, you know, tips from the top per se, but I'll do some more videos here coming up shortly, and hope you enjoyed this one.